Hello, welcome to this lesson on perfect competition. We're looking first at a constant cost industry. What happens if there's more demand for the product? If there's more demand for the product, the demand for the item is going to increase. This is going to cause the market price to increase and the market quantity to increase. Now, since the market price has increased, the firm is now going to receive a higher marginal revenue or a higher price. So that's going to cause the price or the margin revenue of the firm to increase, and the quantity produced at the profit maximizing level is also going to increase. That's what happens in the short run, but what's going to happen in the long run? Since firms are now making a profit because now this price is above the ATC, other firms are going to enter this market as well. So the supply of this item in the market is going to increase as more firms start to produce the item. Now, in a constant cost industry, when more firms produce the item, this does not increase cost for the firms already existing in the market. So the price returns back to the previous level after the other firms have entered the market. And the quantity does increase again because now you have more firms producing the item in the market. Now, for the existing firm, the price increased first due to an increase in demand, but then it will decrease back to the original level due to the increase in firms in the market. So that caused the market equilibrium price to go back down. So the firm is gonna be not gonna be affected in the long run due to an increase in the demand for the item, but they are making short-term profits since before the other firms entered, they were charging a higher price, a higher marginal revenue. Now, what happens if there's an increasing cost industry instead? In an increasing cost industry, let's assume again that there's more demand for the item. This is going to cause the demand in the market to increase. That leads to a higher equilibrium price in the market and a higher equilibrium quantity. Now, for the firm, the price is higher, so revenue also increases. That leads to a higher price as well as a higher profit maximizing quantity right there for the firm. In the long run, other firms are going to see these firms making profits and they're going to enter the market. So the supply of the item is going to increase as more firms start producing the item. However, in an increasing cost industry, when more firms start producing items, that leads to an increase in the cost for existing firms. So the average total cost for existing firms, just like this one, is going to increase as other firms enter the market. So the market price ends up at a higher level than originally. It went up and then it went down, but not all the way back down because of these higher costs to firms already existing in the market. However, the market quantity is going to increase again since you have more firms producing the item. For the existing firms, the average total cost is going to increase since when other firms are coming into this market, this is going to drive up the cost of production. The marginal revenue increased and then it decreased a little bit, but not back down to the original level due to these higher costs for the existing firms. So now you have a profit maximizing quantity that remains at a higher level than it was originally for these firms. One other thing we need to um, check is, are perfectly competitive firms efficient? Now, perfectly competitive firms are always allocatively efficient. And allocative efficiency is the amount desired by society is being met. And this amount is represented by the market demand, which in a perfectly competitive market ends up being the same as the marginal revenue. So, since perfectly competitive firms produce where MR equals MC, they are always going to produce at the MR or demand for the market, which is allocatively efficient. So, a perfectly competitive firm is going to be always allocatively efficient. They're meeting the wants that society is asking for. What about productive efficiency? Productive efficiency comes from producing at the lowest cost. This means producing at the minimum ATC. Now, perfectly competitive firms are going to produce at the average, the lowest ATC in the long run when they're making a normal profit, when economic profit is zero. but not in the short run, because in the short run they could be producing somewhere that's not at the lowest point of the ATC, because they would either be making a profit or a loss. But in the long run, they're making $0 of economic profit. They're going to be producing right here at the lowest point of the ATC. So when price is at the lowest point of ATC, they're making a normal profit or $0 of economic profit, and that's going to show that they're being productively efficient. So perfectly competitive firms are productively efficient in the long run. They're always allocatively efficient no matter what, but they're only going to be productively efficient in the long run when price is at the lowest ATC level and they're making a normal profit. That's all for this lesson. See you next time.